All right, guys, so we got some parts in this week, thank goodness. So today we're going to be trying to get the steering column worked out with the steering shaft and actually tie it back into the steering box. And we're going to see if we can get some Luan on this door. Since I'm not going to order new door pads, we're just going to see if we can make them. And we're going to see if we can button up some of the wiring. So stick with us. Alright guys, so little update. We got started on some stuff, thought the camera was rolling, wasn't rolling. So I want to go through a couple things of what we've been working on, and just show you around what we got and a little update. So let's take a look. So we got a door panel onto the door here. And all we used for that was a couple of these thread nut rivets. I don't know, whatever you want to call them. They're kind of like a pop rivet, but they have threads in them. So we used a number 10 one. So it uses a number 10 machine screw. And then we went to Harbor Freight, picked up some stainless steel machine screws with the like the upholstery type or interior panel type washers on them, and then we just took them and installed them here on the door in different locations here. There's one right there, and so it's just a piece of Luan that you get normally, sounds like your local hardware store, and we attached it with thread rivet nuts, whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. So I got that done, just this side. We still have the passenger side to do. Fasteners. No, they're not, but okay, so then we still have the passenger side to go. I also ran some of the wiring for the fans last night. Well, all of the wiring minus the sensor. So we got those all hooked up here. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see down in there, but they're all hooked up. And they're actually ran out to this wire here. Well, this is the ground to the relay for the fans. So there's a power wire that comes out to the fans. The fans are then chassis grounded, and the power comes from a relay. The relay is triggered. It's got ignition key on for the power to the control side of the relay from that ignition bar, and then they're ran up, and then that runs up, and the ground side is controlled by that switch you see out there. So the way we did it here, let me see if I can get a little light going. So the way I did it here is that's not working. Okay, so the way it works is right here is the power out, going out to the fans, and again they're chassis grounded, and then this here is actually it runs over to the ignition bar over there. That's a fused ignition source, and it triggers it comes on whenever the ignition's on. So then the power side of the relay, of the control side of the relay, is hot, and then when that wire out there is grounded, it then controls the relay. And then what's gonna ground that out is, let me see if I can find it. What do we got here? Of course, it's not here. Hold on a second. Okay, so this is the grounding switch for the relay. It goes in the intake, and when it turns 185 degrees, it kicks on, and then turns off at 175 degrees. So that's what's going to be controlling our fans. Okay, guys, so I'm going to show you how to do the other panel. The first one I forgot to hit the camera record, so let me show you how we're doing this one. So what we got going on here is I traced it off of the other one and got me the general shape. Then I took a woodworking clamp so it wouldn't scratch the paint or dent the metal here, or the lawn here, and putting it in the general spot that it needs to go. I cut it a little big, and then right about here, somewhere in here, there's the door handle, and then there's another one over here for the window crank. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take like a rubber mallet and hit it, and then it's going to leave an indent. Then I'm going to use a hole saw bit and drill out that, and then I will turn you back on and let you know the next steps. Then we're going to kind of line it up based off of those, and then put in some of those rivet certs or whatever you want, the threaded certs. So I'll turn you back on after I get that hole cut off. Okay, so I was able to get 5 screws in. And like I said, I just guessed where the hole was, kind of lined it up, tried to figure out where it was, guessed it with the drill, drilled it through. I'll show you here on the other side what we did, since I had this door panel off. So all we did was we see there's existing holes already in the door for, I guess, the old panel, or I don't really know what they're for. So I just picked some that were the right size for the thread cert, guessed the hole, screwed through the wand, or drilled through the wand. Then I went back and put these in. So now what I'm going to do is trace the window out. I traced it out on the front side and thought it would be okay, but I think it might be just a slight bit off. So I'm going to trace it from the other side, cut that out. Once I cut that out, then we should be able to, also I'm going to take the grinder with a sanding flap disc, and I'm going to touch the corners up. So as you can see, I kind of cut it kind of big. I don't know if you can see that there's yeah, there you go. There's a lip here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flap disc grinder, just grind it down till it's smooth, till it matches all of it. So I'm going to get to doing that, and then I'll turn you back on once I've cut the window and the window hole, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so while Dave was playing to his strengths and completely dominating that panel, I was playing to my strengths and I was fabricating. The steering shaft that we had to put in needed to be sectioned in about 4 spots. So we had our mid shaft here that actually connects down to the rag joint. I was able to get that back working again. I did have to modify it slightly up here. We cut about 3 inches off, 4 inches off, just so that we could fit in our mid bearing that's actually attached and holding the mid shaft. After I did all that, I noticed that it was a little bit too far over to the driver's side, and it was starting to bind, and it was putting way too much pressure on my 2 joints here and here. So after about 19 times, I finally figured out that I needed a spacer in between the actual bracket that I made and the bearing holder that I made. Once I figured that out, I started turning the wheel again, and I learned that the bracket that I made to hold the bearing was flexing like crazy. So we actually had to weld in, I'm going to get the light over here. We actually had to weld in a little bit of a gusset down here to tie everything together, and now she don't want to move at all. I still have to tap another bolt hole back here before it's 100% secure, but I was able to tap these bolts into the joints here and here and here and here. Now the only one I have to do is into the steering column. But as I'm noticing, I don't think I have enough space. I don't think the shaft comes down to the floor bearing, or I don't think it comes into the floor bearing far enough. It's on the very edge. So I might have to take these bolts back out and adjust the bottom bearing that holds in the bottom of the shaft. Once I do that, I can drill and tap the last bolt, the last set screw that I have rather, into the steering shaft, and this thing will be 100% done. And with no binding and no flex, she should be good to go. All right, guys, now that we're on the inside of the cab, as I was putting in the bottom grommet to hold and secure the bottom of the steering shaft, I noticed that the placement of it was at the very end of the shaft, which is making it unsturdy at the bottom. It doesn't seem like it, but when you start wrenching on the steering wheel and trying to get the wheels to turn, it's very loose at the bottom. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take these 3 bolts out that we already secured to the floor, and we're actually gonna have to raise it up about a half inch to 3/4 of an inch should be fine, because it's already into the grommet about a 1/4 inch. I just want an inch in just to make sure I have a secure base for the steering shaft. When we take those bolts out, unfortunately they're a little short, and they're kind of weak too because they're just little 1/4 inch bolts. So we're actually going to drill out the grommet and drill out the floor pan that we just put in to a 5/16 so that we can make it stronger and more durable as we're raising it up.
All right, so while Vince is working on that column, I'm gonna work on trying to get some Lexane in these windows. Most people have a 2-door, we have a 4-door. So we can't get everything we need for the back doors. So in order to make to the beach, we are gonna make Lexane work in these back windows. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting out a cardboard template. As you can see here, I got it pretty much framed up where it's gonna be. And if I take it down here, what you got going on in these holes, there's holes right there. I know it's not focusing on them, but of course. So right here, there's holes around the window that are already there for the actual original kind of tracking. So what I want to do is I want to install pop rivets in there once I cut out this cardboard template into Lexane. So I'm going to get to it, and I'll show you either the finished project or if I run into any problems.
All right, guys, so unfortunately we didn't get a lot of filming done today. Our window of time is shrinking drastically. So we just had to kind of pick a night where we could just kind of hammer out a few of the little details that were kind of like dragging on. That being said, we're going to do a time lapse of it. Hopefully, here in the next couple days, we can kind of get back on a more video-centric schedule where everything gets recorded. But with the time constraints that we have right now, we're just kind of doing the best we can. So tonight, for the update, Dave was able to get the other Lawan door done. I love saying that word, Lawan. It's just one of my favorite words. But he was able to get the Lawan door pad done and installed on the passenger side. We still got a little bit of sanding to do to get the fitment just right and make everything copacetic. But I mean, that looks awesome. It's going to look even better when we stain it red. On top of, I think that door needs a little more adjustment. On top of that, Dave was actually able to get the Lexan in. It's nice and pretty. It's doing its job. We actually sealed it down to the bottom and on the bottom and the sides and the top of the door to make it weather resistant so no rain can get in. And once we actually put the frame in, it's going to look like just like a regular piece of glass, which would be good. On top of that, we're able to get the tail lights in, get them wired up. We put weather connection or weather pack connections on them so that they can be removed. The whole goal is to hopefully be able to paint these fenders, and both fenders and the step side if we get a chance. So the weather pack connectors were definitely a must so that we can disconnect and reconnect to pull the fenders off. On top of all of that, I was doing some major fabrication up here with the bumper. This thing did not come with front bumper mounts, mainly because it's a 78 Camaro front end. which nothing from a 1944 is going to bolt up to it, obviously. So I went ahead and I made my quarter horseshoe brackets that actually bolt onto the front bar that goes in between the frame rails. And not to brag, but she's still level-ish. It moved a little bit on the tack welds, but it's not so much to where I can't get it back into place. So that's what I'm probably gonna be working on tomorrow. So yes, tomorrow the bumper will go on. Hopefully we get the front turn signals mounted, and what else? We're still waiting on windows. It's, you know, I've gotten 3 calls so far. Oh yeah, they'll be in next day, next day, next day. So we're just kind of at the mercy of the supply chain. All right, guys, so we're actually able to get our front bumper mounting brackets back in line, back in the square, and back level. We're gonna move right along, and when I did these brackets, I made them a little longer. You always wanna make it, give yourself a little bit of room anytime you're doing something like this, and just count on adjustment, because it's always better to have more and not need it than not have enough and need it. That creates a whole new area of problems. So I mean, I'm a little longer. I obviously don't. Where's the bumper? There it is. I'm forgetting where I lay stuff. I obviously don't want the bumper sticking out this far. That looks a little ridiculous. So we want to shorten it up. So what we're going to do, I already measured. It's about 3 1/4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off 3 inches of each one of the square tubes, and that'll give me a 1/4 inch of play. If I need to cut it off again, I'll cut it off again. I don't care to make multiple cuts, but you never want to go as far as you can and then not have enough to cover your butt. So we'll take the 3 off, start lining the bumper up, see how it's going to work, and then we're going to make our brackets. So we just got the bumper mounted and welded to the frame. We got our holes drilled to actually mount the bumper, and I was actually able to get it square by the grace of God. We tucked it in a little bit because factory specs actually brings the bumper out a little bit further, and to me it just looks a little ugly. So we went ahead and shortened everything up so that we could get it closer tucked into the fenders. Now all we got to do, I had to take the bolts out of the grill so that I could manage the bumper. Now that I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and tidy up the grill. But first, I'm going to make the mounts for the turn signals for Dave so we can mount them and get them run today. And while he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and tidy up the grill and start adjusting the hood.
Right now I'm going to get on trying to get some of these grommets in and the loom over some of the wires. So got some stuff in here. We got a thing of grommets. We got some big 1-inch stuff, and we also got some of this 1/2 inch. Then to finish it off, a little bit of fabric tape to wrap around it to seal it up. This is the stuff for the inside. I also got some stuff coming for the outside where it's high temperature. So I'm gonna get to doing it, and I'll catch you guys on when I get some of it done. Okay guys, so I got some of this wire loom on. We're kind of jumping ahead here, but you'll see this later in the video because I forgot to shoot this part where after I put the loom on. So we got some loom on, some more wires ran, and I'm gonna show you around real quick. So what we got going on here is I put loom on the alternator wire up to the temperature sender and all the way back, all around the ones that come off of the starter solenoid. I came and put all new loom around the fan wires all the way around, then up through the ones that come through the firewall there. And hold on. Okay, and also we did all these wires that come out, the wires that go all along there. We did not do the ones directly behind the column yet, but we'll get to those. This one goes all the way back to the back here. Got a whole bunch of stuff in the way. But as you can see, I also put grommets in all the holes. So all the holes that we're using for wires are grommeted now. So just a little update. Use some of that stuff out of that box and got some stuff done. So okay, so we worked all day, filmed nothing, so this video is going to be short. The brakes aren't working right, but we're going to get in the car and drive it anyway. So stick with us and see how bad it becomes. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It still goes all the way to the floor. If you push it over a little bit, it still does the same thing. Sounds like we got an exhaust leak too. Yeah, a little bit. Could you slow down when you go over the bumps? That'd be great.
I'd really love to slow down.
Pump them, don't hold them. When was the last time you went to a driving class?
Bobby, I got no rear mirror.
More coming.
Yeah. Mercedes. We don't want to hit that.
We definitely don't.
Alright, you're good.
Good?
Yep.
I want to get on it so bad, I just can't. You know, because of the brakes. Not too bad. Well, it doesn't stop and it pulls hard to the left, and it's got lack of power for the first 2,000 RPM, but it looks good.
Just pull it straight in. All right, wait a minute. We got to clean this.
Well, she runs and runs good in a straight line, and as long as you don't need to stop. Once you hit the brakes, it's kind of like, maybe. But I think that's my fault. Once we got all the brake lines hooked up, I actually had the front and rear crossed. So we bled them like that and then realized that I had them crossed, and then we undid them and made them right, and then I just forgot to bleed because I was so excited to actually take it on a test drive and check out the steering and everything else that we did. So a little bit of oversight on my part. Luckily no one died, and if you're my neighbor watching this, those tracks were in your yard before I got there. So that being said, we did get steering done. We got the bumper mounted and fixed. We got the turn signals in. This one's sitting a little bit lower. I need to do a little bit more of adjustment, but it's in. You know, a little bit of adjusting, it goes a long way. We were able to move the steering shaft up and get that finalized and set in its final place. And if anybody's asking me, oh my God, why are you using black tape? Because I didn't have any rubber to stop the vibration between the steering shaft, the steering column, and the dash. And I didn't want to scar anything up any more than what it already was. So black tape to the rescue in a pinch. Dave was able to finish these glorious Lejuan door pads. Again, one of my favorite words, Lejuan. You can't say it enough. It just feels good when you say it. We were able to get turn signals done in the back. We were able to get and find the actual latch to the car. This, I swear, I felt like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I swear to God, this is like that moment where he's taken the statue off and trying to replace it with that bag of sand. You know what I'm saying? I found it. We made it work. I couldn't believe it. It actually functions. Oh, it's just the most glorious sound on the planet. However, once we got that to function, this decided to say no, because it wasn't used to all that. This was actually replaced. I didn't realize it until we started grinding away at it, but this was all tech, and this is from the previous owner who had it, who actually tried to fix it. I think what happened was, I think she actually got wild back here, and he was trying to make this work and just couldn't figure it out, or couldn't get it to work. So we were actually missing a bolt right here that I had to replace. But this is really crappy welding. Don't judge me on my welding, please, God. This is just something this is ends to a mean. I have the right part to replace this, but in the meaning of time, I don't have enough time to do it before we go to cruise week. So that's gonna have to be afterwards. But the fuel cell's in, yay, with both straps and the sending unit, so I'll actually be able to tell when I need gas, which, if the motor is any indication, it's going to be a lot. I have a feeling that this car will pass anything on the highway except a gas station. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Gas forever, baby. You'll never see an e-car out there doing that. That being said, we still got to put the bolts in the fenders and get them shored up. Dave was able to get the Lexan done. I want to be doing that just whenever we get down there. Doing it. Driver's side door got done too. with the Le Juan. It still needs just a little bit of adjustment, just that little tiny bit. We got the lights going in the dash, that got done, and the steering column the steering shaft with all my many knuckles and all of my fabrication actually held up on a real road test. That was very exciting. Dave got all the looms done, all that stuff looks good. Now the only thing left that we got to do is just the finishing little touches to make it mechanically sound. So adjusting the carburetor is going to be a big part of that. Re-bleeding the brakes. I got to make sure I like double line it, like, oh, bleed the brakes so you actually stop and don't kill yourself or anyone else. What else? Oh, and an update. Windows are going to be here this Thursday. Hooray! So he actually put the windows in. I was blown away when he actually sent me an email, you know. So they'll be in. We do have a surprise. I did order some more parts. I've been kind of keeping a secret what we're going to do to it, but it's definitely going to make the car look a lot cooler once they come in. Hopefully they'll be in this week too. But we're down to the wire, guys. We got just a few more weeks to get it ready, and that sounds like a long time, but when you work a day job and a night job and do this on your spare time, believe me, crunch time is upon us. So please just make sure you stick with us. Thanks for sticking around this far. We definitely appreciate any input. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Are you digging on the 40? Are you digging on Dave's Monty? We got other cars coming up. It's definitely going to be fun. This is the fun part. Just making sure like everything gets done before you go. It's been a wild ride so far, and I don't expect it stopping anytime soon. So again, guys, thanks again for sticking around. Make sure you like and subscribe so you stay up to date on all of our future content. We got a few more videos coming up before we go to Cruise Week. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.